Good afternoon, everyone. We're glad to have you join us again for our monthly installment of the virtual Lunch and Learn series for the Wyoming Airports Coalition. We'll give a few minutes to allow people to log in, and then we'll get started. But I want to say thank you for joining and being a part of the Wyoming Airports Coalition and supporting our virtual Lunch and Learn series. So again, we'll just allow a few minutes for people to log on, and then we'll get started. Okay, we will have a few other people logging on and joining our virtual Lunch and Learn series. But again, I want to welcome you. My name is Kyle Butterfield. I'm on the board for the Wyoming Airports Coalition and very pleased to offer again this installment of our virtual Lunch and Learn series. I'm really glad that we're doing this as a coalition, and I hope that you find value in the topics that we're selecting and presenting to you as a membership. And we encourage you to reach out to a member of the board with suggestions for topics. If there are items that you feel would be valuable for us as a team to dive into and learn together on, please let us know because we want to be responsive to the needs of our group. I have a few other announcements just to work through at this time, and then we'll turn it over to our presenters today. I want to make note that the previous Lunch and Learn series or recordings are now available on the Airport Coalition's YouTube page. Please reference an email that our president, Devin Brubaker, sent out about a month ago. It provides a link to that YouTube page. I've already tried it, and outside of me being on each one of the Lunch and Learn recordings, I think they all turned out pretty well. So if you didn't get a chance to view our previous Lunch and Learns or you want to review some of the material that was provided, you can now do that via the Coalition's YouTube page. And I want to say thanks to the board for getting that set up and providing value to our membership. I also want to make sure that folks are aware that the legislative session has kicked off. It's underway. We're planning on seeing at least 600 bills filed this year. We probably will get more, and this is looking to be a record year for filed bills. So our elected officials have their work cut out for them, and I believe strongly now more than ever that they need our assistance as professionals to help them navigate the bills that would impact our airports and our communities. Please use your voice. Please reach out to your local representatives and let them know things that are of value to you as a community member. We have a very engaged legislative affairs committee, and they will do their best to do calls for action, but they can only do so much, and we need your help, especially this year as there's an inundation of so many bills that I almost sympathize for our legislators and their ability to stay on top of everything that's coming forward. So please pay attention to that. And then I want to just double check dates here to make sure I have it correct, but be aware that February 10th and the 11th is an opportunity for you to come to Cheyenne and participate in our open house with our legislators and other meetings as they relate to the coalition. And our president, Devin Brubaker, will have an opportunity to provide more detail on that at the end of this call. With those announcements in place, I'd love to kick off our Lunch and Learn series for today. We're going to be talking about hangar and land use development, and that's hangar with an A and not an E, as I was reminded via email. It's so critical for all of what we do at our airports, and we've got a great panel of experts to help us today. We have Aaron Buck from Yellowstone Regional Airport. We have Devin Brubaker from Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport, and also Glenn Januska from the Casper Natrona International Airport. They will be working through a presentation for us. And with that, Mr. Buck, I will yield the floor to you. And again, thank you for participating today and helping our coalition.
Thank you, Kyle, for introducing us, getting us started here. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you today. I think we have a fun topic talking about hangar development and a little bit of land use planning. There we go. Glenn's pulling up the presentation we have, and I guess I'll go ahead and get started.
And
Um,
are we sure everybody can see it?
I'm assuming everyone can hear me pretty well, so it looks like I can see the screen. So,
Yep.
uh, uh, so the webinar today is a little, like I said, about hangar development and land use. And so we all know building hangars can fill a need that attract new businesses or generate additional revenue for an airport. Well, I guess before I get there, we've already introduced our speakers. Um, uh, Devin will go after me, and then Glenn will be the anchor today. We can go ahead and advance the slide a little bit there. So we all know that hangars development it can bring new business to the airport, and there's a. I think the overall theme today is trying to find thinking outside of the box for different ways to fund different things, or to get to see a need and get that part of the need done. So go ahead and advance the slide. So today I was going to mention a little bit that, or as I started thinking about this subject, uh, I thought that there was 5 steps that we could use to uh, during hangar development. Uh, Questions that we could ask ourselves in these steps. And so, where are we now? Where do you want to be? How do you get there? And then the execution of actually building, and then evaluate the project. I think there's as we go through this and the examples of Cody, I'll kind of talk about these steps a little bit. Next slide. So hangar development plan kind of starts a little bit actually with your master plan. This page is pulled from the master plan. All the red space, this was done in 2020. All the red space is needed pavement. All the yellow space is proposed hangars here for Cody. There's uh, a lot there, right? A lot of needs that were identified during the master plan that needed to be done, and that can't be done overnight. So there, throughout this project, or throughout this, we'll talk a little bit about what Cody has done through that. So we've to develop some of these areas. Go ahead, next slide. So this is an overview or an aerial of what the hangar development looked like in 2015 or prior to that that study. And you'll see down the bottom right corner of the screen that there wasn't much development, or there wasn't much hangars on the airfield. Some of the needs we needed to get those hangars were water and sewer down to the bottom right corner of the area. I don't know if you could, I guess you can note this was right in here. We needed to get water and sewer to these areas. We needed to also do taxi lanes so that we could develop that area. And so those were the needs that we had, and we were fortunate to get some money from CARES, and we did a few projects with it. So next slide. So as you can see in this picture, this is an aerial from 2023. So we had done the project in 2020, one of expanding the taxi lanes and adding water and sewer, and we already started to attract more hangar business, hangar development in the area with those needs that were done with the CARES Act. So that was the first phase of it. It cost about $2.2 million just to do the pavement and the water and sewer here for this. This allowed private hangar growth, and then we continued this with to continue the project and have a little bit of airport owned growth by adding 2 T hangar buildings. Go ahead to the next slide. So you'll see, and this is a picture was taken yesterday. You'll see that there's 2 T hangars there. We added, they are 11 unit buildings, so 22 units. 19 of them are occupied. We had a great demand for additional hangar space and T hangars. And so what's great about this project is because it's airport owned, it brings additional revenue into the airport greater than just a land use. And so with those additional land, the T hangars bring in about $100,000 in revenue when we're renting them at $380 a piece annually. So monthly, and so $100,000 annual revenue. Also, the private hangar development that you see has been an additional $40,000 a year to the airport's annual revenue through land rent. So when you look at this, go ahead and go to the next slide. So throughout the hangar development, you have to have a plan and a master plan. Analyze your needs and do what you can to get over those hurdles, to add those utilities. Some of the needs that we had throughout this process, again, like where water and sewer was added through the CARES Act project. We also had a need to add private access to the hangar rows behind there. We were able to do that by adding on to our AIP project for the airport wildlife fence, changing where the fence goes, allowing back access to these hangars. That's public access rather than just being all inside of the hangar airfield. Also looking forward, this project moving forward with funding and availability to continue the development that was identified in the master plan and growing. We plan on expanding that taxiway Bravo down into the grass in the far corner there, and adding also utilities and water and sewer, and bringing them from that far hangar all the way down into to that area to expand about 8 more spots to complete our master plan. So I think I think I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Devin.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. And just appreciation for Kyle and his education committee for continuing to put on these webinars. And Aaron, thanks for taking the lead on this month's topic. So for those of you that do not know me, Devin Brubaker, Airport Director for the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport, also serving as your current president of the coalition. So just to continue on with some projects and things that we've done in Southwest Wyoming, really talking about strategic and timely investments. Go ahead and go to the next page, Glenn. A little bit of background. I tell people often that we are a general aviation airport with commercial service. By FAA definition, we are absolutely a commercial service airport, but over 90% of our revenue comes from general aviation, and that's not lost on myself, my staff, or our airport board. So it's really important that we make strategic investments when it comes to our general aviation infrastructure and facilities. We're located just east of Rock Springs, Wyoming, actually on an island that was annexed by the city decades ago. So we are within city limits. However, we're on an island with county lands in between us and town. We are a joint powers airport board formed by the city of Rock Springs and Sweetwater County. We have a total of 9 employees, myself, our ops and business manager, Shannon Lucero, and then 7 operations specialists who not only do airport operations, aircraft rescue firefighting, and airport maintenance, but they also operate our FBO, Sweetwater Aviation. They're our customer service and our fuelers and aircraft ground handling, everything, all the above they do. So very lean team here for the operation size that we have. Next slide. We are in the process actually this week of finalizing our 2024 master plan. We just finalized our responses to the FAA comments today, and we should have signatures starting this week on our master plan. So pretty excited to roll this plan out. It's a 20-year, $177 million capital plan. It's the first time in our airport's history where we've had a true comprehensive master plan on moving forward. Our past master plans, unfortunately, didn't do a great job of laying out a path forward for the airport. So the aerial or the drawing you see there shows a lot of the master plan projects. The light blue is areas, light blue and dark blue are new taxi lanes, pavement, and then buildings. The gray areas are non-aeronautical land development, and the green areas have to do with land acquisitions or land swaps. So, as well as the peach colored land there as well. So a lot of different things happening over the next 20 years here in Sweetwater County, but wanted to give you a kind of an overview of those. Next slide. So one of our first big projects, when I arrived here in 2015, we had a couple pavement projects that were pretty critical, a runway rehab project, taxiway rehab projects and such. But our first project that was absolutely key to the airport seeing success was replacing our 1930s hangar and our 1940s FBO terminal facility. The hangar was originally built at the original airport down by the Sweetwater County Events Complex. The terminal or the hangar was moved to its current location at this airport, not current, former location. And then the terminal was one of the first United Airlines terminal facilities back during the 1940s. We replaced both those facilities with a brand new FBO in 2017, 2018. The project cost was just under 5.8 million. We were able to leverage multiple sources of funding so that the local cost on this project was less than $30,000. And so that encompassed 2 years of our apportionment money from the FA, $3 million from the Wyoming Business Council, Business Ready Community Grant Program, and just under $600,000 from WYDOT. The only reason we had a $30,000 local cost was because we found that the old septic system had failed and it needed to be replaced. So at that point, we covered that cost locally. This project here, when we did it, we had to put a business plan together for the Business Council, and we estimated that it would generate about $50,000 of revenue for the airport each year. We honestly didn't realize what the potential was for this facility. If you want to go to the next slide, Glenn. So this is just a picture I took on Sunday night of the hangar with 8 mid-sized corporate jets in it. And there's still room for more in that hangar. The hangar, as I mentioned earlier, we had forecasted about $50,000 a year of revenue. We just on the hangar alone, this hangar building alone is generating over $450,000 a year of revenue for the airport and the FBO. That doesn't count all the ground services and fuel. In this picture, it's hard to see, but my guys are doing a lav service on one of the jets there. Every aircraft that comes in that needs ground services generates even more revenue. So for us, as I said earlier, we recognized early on that general aviation was key to our success as an airport, and the way that we could grow the airport, the way we could make future investments in the airport was growing 90% of our business by as big of a margin as possible, which we have done. We have increased our general aviation revenue by well over 100% over the years here, and I think we're going to continue to see that growth. So in terms of what that means for your airport is opportunities to find that key project. What is that key cornerstone project that is going to propel the rest of your plans for the airport? For us, in 2017, 2018, it was a new FBO facility with all new services, new ground support equipment, and all of those things. And that has parlayed into a whole host of other things. And the very next project is the next big one that is the anchor for the future of the airport. Go ahead, Glenn. So we are in the process of this project. It is a $41.5 million terminal project. We are essentially building an entirely new terminal here at this airport. We're doubling the terminal square footage, and we're gutting and renovating the existing terminal. As part of this project, we wanted to be very strategic. When you look at the AIP handbook, in terms of being able to fund some critical infrastructure, things like natural gas or sanitary sewer systems, it's very limited in how you can use AIP funding on those. But we did find and recognize within the AIP handbook that we could get a natural gas line and an airport-wide low-pressure sanitary sewer system covered underneath the terminal project. And so we were able to get 79% of the cost of a new natural gas service to the entire airport. And that was an $800,000 investment. We were able to get 79% of that covered by the FAA. And then we were able to get an airport-wide low-pressure sanitary sewer system instead of having separate septic systems across the airport. We were able to get those two components added to the terminal project. And by doing so, that unlocks over 200 acres of land that can be developed here at the airport. Without those two improvements, we could have a great terminal and we'd have a great FBO, but without that natural gas and without that low pressure sanitary sewer system, we couldn't see any future development. So just a breakdown on some of that funding, once again, taking advantage of a bunch of different sources, 26.7 million from the FAA, 10 million from the Wyoming Business Council, 5 million of that is loan, $5 million of that is grant. YDOT Aeronautics at $3.3 million, just under 3.3, and then city and county a total of 1.27 million. I know these are big numbers, and we may have some GA or smaller communities on the line that you see these numbers and go, of course, a commercial service airport doing a $41 million project. But just think about everything in ratios or proportionality that on a $41.5 million project, we were able to do it for under $1.3 million of local cash. On our FBO, on a $5.8 million project, we were able to do it with $0 local cash. So keep in mind that you can match the scope and size of these projects that Aaron, Glenn, and I are talking about to your size airport, and it is possible. Next slide. New hangar development. This is just a zoomed in portion of our master plan. We're working on conceptual design. We're scoping out the work for conceptual design, funded with airport cash. The goal is for us to get to design build procurement on additional FBO hangar capacity, as well as construction of mid-size box hangars. We're also going to do some renderings and sales materials for private hangar development on land lease areas. But the ultimate plan is for us to invest our remaining bipartisan infrastructure law, airport infrastructure grants on hangar development and or projects that create shovel-ready land for private hangar development. Next slide, Glenn. So some keys to success before I turn it over to Glenn here. I'm a big believer in strategic capital investment. I've worked at airports around the country where there's a bit of a shotgun approach where you shoot and hope that you've hit the target and hope that you've invested the money in a wise manner. We are very strategic about every dollar we invest in capital here. Be innovative and think outside the box. If you look at the FBO and the terminal, those two projects approaching $50 million for $1.3 million of local investment. That's by thinking outside the box, looking at how you can use money to match money, using business council money to match FAA money to match business council money, YDOT money to do the same. Always think about how you can use one source of money to leverage another. And I can't say it enough. Develop a vision for your airport, sell that vision, and execute on it. And I'm going to pause there because I want to take a moment. I think everybody on this call probably was notified earlier this week or late last week, I can't even recall at this point, that we lost somebody pretty special to Wyoming airports, Christy Yaffa. And I got to tell you, in September 2015, it was my first Wyoming Airports Coalition conference. I had just started a couple months prior, and Christy was the first person that I got to truly sell my vision to the airport, or of the airport to. I think I bored her to death for about an hour in Lander at that conference. And I remember her staying engaged with me the whole time because I had a vision, because I was able to sell that vision. She jumped on board with it, and so did YDOT, and so did the FAA, and really helped us execute on that vision. So, make sure you develop the vision, sell your vision, find a champion, whether it's somebody at YDOT, that's somebody at the FAA, somebody in your community. It needs to be you as well. You can't just make somebody else a champion. You need to be a champion, but you need to find somebody else. And for me, that was Christy Yaffa. So thank you to her for her years of support for us and many airports around the state. The next point is always plan for,
Sorry.
Not yet, sorry. That always plan for what's next. You know, when we're doing our master plan, the part of the problem this airport has had in the past is they got an opportunity to build a building and they go build it. And then 10 years later, you go, wait a minute, that would be an ideal location for a hangar, not an SRE building. And so make sure that you're thinking about tomorrow, next week, next year, next decade, and even next century at your airport. Make sure you lay things out in a manner that makes it so you're not having to redo your work, because that's quite embarrassing to have to go say, hey, I know we just built an SRE building 10 years ago, but I want to convert that to a hangar and I want to build a new SRE building. So that's in a better spot. So try to avoid those kinds of things. So get to know every funding stream possible and details of each. Honestly, dig into the AIP handbook, dig into the rules and regulations for the Business Council, dig into the rules and regulations for YDOT, know all of those funding streams, look at USDA, look at all of them. Know every one of those funding streams like the back of your hand and how they work together and how they can be leveraged against each other. And that leads me to my final point. Use federal funding to leverage state and local funding, and use state and local funding to leverage federal funding. Every entity you ever talk to about funding, they want to know that there's other skin in the game. They prefer not to be the last dollar in if possible, or they want to be the last dollar in if possible, not the first dollar in. So when you can say, hey, I've already secured X, or I've already secured Y, or hey, I have enough funding to complete this project, but if you give me more, I can reallocate this funding elsewhere to these other critical projects. So be able to have those conversations with all the different funding partners. And once again, be a champion for your airport, be a champion for your community. Find somebody else outside of your organization that's also willing to be your champion. Find your Christy Yaffa. I think that's absolutely paramount. And I don't know who else is on this call, but I got to tell you, Christy was a champion for us. John Sweeney was a champion for us. Jesse Lyman and Rebecca Wursel at the FAA, AJ, Phil. I can go down the list. All of these folks at YDOT and the FAA have become champions for my airport because they saw the vision, how I sold it. So I think that's an opportunity for every airport in the state. And with that, kick it over to Glenn for his portion of the presentation.
Kevin and Glenn, if it's possible, before we do that, it might be a good moment to just break and answer a few questions that we already have in the Q&A.
Yep.
The first comes from Trent Holder, and he expressed interest in knowing if you experienced any bumps in the road as they relate to environmental, SHPO, et cetera, during the process of removing the two old historical buildings on your airfield.
Excellent question. So in short, we did a phase 1 or a level 1 study. We hired a historical preservation company that's local here to analyze the building. It was determined that since the building had been moved from its original location back in the 40s, it was not a historical location. To help kind of smooth that over, we also made commitments that we were going to save certain components. For instance, the wood that was underneath the roofing, we saved, a bulk of that and turned it into our furniture in the FBO. That's the same wood that was in the picture that a lot of people have seen of Amelia Earhart stopping here at our airport in 1932. And also we saved the light fixtures from that hangar that were original to the 1930s. And some of those are going to be installed in our commercial airline terminal that's under construction now. So we did get a release from SHPO, but the only reason we were lucky was because things had been moved prior. We're not in the predicament that Glenn finds himself in with all of his historical buildings. And we were fortunate to get that release. It was sad. It was a beautiful, historic, in my mind, historic aviation building, but it was in the way of progress for our airport. So we wanted to keep the memory alive, which I think we've done a good job of, but we needed to make way for the future, and that's what we did.
Any other additional thoughts from our panelist on that specific question? Okay. We had another question come in that said, what about subleasing a private hangar?
So I think that's going to be independent to each airport and each lease. And I'll let Glenn and Aaron step in here. I have some hangars that I allow for a sublease under unique circumstances. Other hangars I do not allow for subleasing. It really depends on the nature of what's happening. If it's just a personal use hangar, I do not allow for subleasing, but when I have a aircraft maintenance company here, I do allow for subleasing, and I've also even worked out some deals where I have a revenue share opportunity that if I can use their unused hangar space for my FBO operations, I will give them a percentage of the revenue off of that hangar revenue that I generate because I ran out of space in my FBO hangar. So I have that relationship with two tenants currently and looking to add that to a third. So it allows them to have access to the hangar. Their lease rate can stay strong and healthy, but then they have an opportunity to offset that lease rate by allowing us to generate revenue as an FBO and as an airport.
So we have about 220 lease agreements here at the airport, aeronautical and non-aeronautical, and all of the leases have a provision in place that addresses sublessee. So we basically say you can sublease, but it has to be with the approval of the airport board, it has to be in writing, so they have to come to us formally. It can't be outside of the scope of the original agreement. So if the agreement is for a hangar aircraft storage, a sublease can't be for a flight school as an example. It has to be the same terms and conditions. They have to provide the same insurance certificates, indemnify us and hold us harmless. And our lessee is responsible for the actions of the sublessee. So we have everything has to be in writing. All subleases have to be in writing. So we specify you have to come to us for approval, and this is what we're going to have in the sublease agreement before the board would approve it.
Yeah, ours is much the same. What Glenn just said. The tenant has to bring the subleasee to the board for approval. We allow subleasing in our 60 by 60s as our smallest hangars that we allow subleasing. Mostly that is just buddies sharing the cost of owning a hangar, or keep having their two planes in there together, or whatnot, right? If it is a larger hangar that might have commercial business with as a result of that subleasing, we require a commercial permit to do that commercial activity. So.
Thank you for pausing for a moment to answer those questions, and I think we can probably advance. There's nothing else in the queue.
Okay. So I'm Glenn Januska. I'm the director of the Casper and Natrona County International Airport. Been here for a little bit over 18 years. A lot of what you heard Aaron and Devin say, I'm going to kind of reiterate as I go forward. A lot of this goes back to having a vision and really looking at your development and what can you do from a development standpoint that's going to lay the infrastructure literally and figuratively for other development. And I'm going to start with our spec hangar. So like Devin with the business council funds, our spec hangar is actually the hangar that is to the left of that square that I drew in. So we would receive inquiries through the state or our local economic development people saying, we have a business that's looking at expanding and they're looking for 10,000 square feet of hangar space. Do you have anything available? And I'm not sure if any of us have a spare 10,000 square foot or 12,000 square foot hangar available that we have control over. So we went to the business council and applied for a community readiness grant. We basically, if you look at that spec hangar, the pavement in front of it was existing. So we basically said as part of our cost, we're going to put in $250,000. We're going to provide the land and the ramp. It allowed us to apply for about a $2.6 million grant for building the spec hangar. The significant thing about that spec hangar is we did not have any of the utilities, roadway, any of the infrastructure in place. So the roadway that you see coming off of Airport Parkway up to where you turn into the spec hangar, that roadway and all the utilities were extended to the spec hangar. So not only did that give us the ability to be able to develop the spec hangar, but all those utilities were extended in an area that gave us opportunities for future development. You can see on the south side of Bill Sullivan Drive, there's a little T connector. We put that in place so that once we had that roadway in place, aeronautical development was to the north, or when I say north, I'm talking plan north or where we're looking at, but we could do some non-aeronautical development to the south. So within 3 days of the time that the spec hangar was constructed, we had somebody who said, hey, I want to lease it out, put a Challenger in, but I want to build a hangar for a Gulfstream. So the building that you see to the left of the spec hangar, we basically leveraged. We basically said, if you want to be able to build that hangar, you need to extend that roadway. So that's how Bill Sullivan got extended. The utilities got extended. That company built that hangar, put in the ramp, later sold that hangar to become a second FBO. So those two hangars together are now Aero Center of Casper. So not only is it available for hangar development, but it in essence became a full service FBO. The reason why I have that little building highlighted, that's a former classroom for one of our local high schools. They were looking at getting rid of these portable buildings. We took ownership for it. It was about $5,000 worth of asbestos removal. They didn't want to remove the asbestos and landfill it, so they gave it to us. We got rid of the asbestos. We put a new roof in, so about $10,000. We got it located here. We use it for construction office, but we also used it when we started to get the very large air tankers. That concrete ramp that you see outside of that classroom building is where we get the very large air tankers in. So as we started looking at the spec hangar, we wanted to make sure that we were putting an infrastructure in place. The area inside of the terminal building that the guys who would do the retardant refilling went away, that became our customs facility. So this construction office also serves as an office for the very large air tanker operations going forward. That square is about the size of about a 10,000 square foot hangar. So we did a project where we had to put a sprinkler system into our terminal building. We ran our utilities over to the terminal building, but we did it in a way so that if that classroom building goes away and we put a hangar in place, we don't have any issues with the utilities. They avoid that. So looking at that as a future hangar. You can see the blue line. I think it's blue line. I'm colorblind, so the line that looks like it's extending the roadway. That was designed so that we can continue to extend Bill Sullivan Drive and continue with hangar development. And I'm actually talking to 3 different companies who are interested in building hangars to the left side of that larger, that Aero Center of Casper building. As you can see, that continues, that roadway will eventually continue and will connect to 2026. So we'll have a separate entrance in to the airport. When we brought the sanitary line out to what we call the Cowboy Aviation, that larger hangar, the one thing that we know about is with sanitary lines is we know what flows downhill. At that point, we are starting to have the ground is starting to drop. So we had a project that our local economic development people did, extending a sanitary line down Highway 2026. It gave us an opportunity to connect our sanitary line where it is at the Cowboy hangar, all the way down to Highway 2026. So everything that's going from the Cowboy hangar towards 2026 is starting to go downhill, and we have the utilities in place now to be able to connect it. So what happens when that roadway gets extended is everything that you see to the south of the blue line, north of Airport Parkway, and basically east of 2026 will be available for commercial development, whether that's going to be a hotel, an office facility, a restaurant. That demarcation gives us the roadway and the utilities to serve the aviation portion, but also gives that opportunity to do non-aeronautical development on the opposite side of that road. It's a little bit closer. When we did the spec hangar, this was about the same time that the very large air tankers started using the airport. One of the things they asked us for is it'd be really nice to have a hydrant on the ramp, so they didn't have to be able to run a fire hose out to a hydrant by the terminal building. And where you see the electric vehicle gate, that was basically a swing gate. So as part of the spec hangar project, we were able to put a hydrant onto the ramp, upgrade our gate to an electronic vehicle gate, and that allowed us to take some improvements from the spec hangar project and make those improvements that we needed to be able to support the VLAT operations. The roto mill that you see in that area, basically we had roto mill from former taxiway project. So we basically put roto mill as part of the project instead of wasting it or stockpiling it. That roto mill came into that area for parking for development in that area. One of the other things that we did was recently, the building that you see that is south of where it says natural gas generator, that is our rental car quick turn facility. We constructed that because it's adjacent to the Ready Car rental lot. But when we did the design, if you see that there's a roadway to the left side of that development, not sure if my cursor shows or not, but there's a roadway on that side. So when we looked at this, we said we want to continue that roadway where you see that blue line. And if we continue that roadway down that blue line, we can connect that to Airport Parkway. So right now, any development that is going to be south of the rental car quick turn facility, we're looking at that as commercial development, has to come up through the backside. But eventually that roadway will continue to connect down to Airport Parkway. It'll give us a second area access into that development area. And we also had all the utilities for the quick turn facility except for a gas line. So we basically connected the gas line. It's that red line that kind of parallels where that future roadway alignment would be. We brought the gas up to connect to the quick turn facility. And what that also allowed us to be able to do, that was paid for with CFC's customer facility charge fees for the rental cars. But because we used that and we brought that gas line up, that gas line is now there for future development. We also ran the gas line up to where we show the natural gas generator. We in a previous, parking lot reconstruction project, we moved our power panel for the parking lot to where that generator is, and allowed us to run the gas line to that natural gas generator, which now provides backup power for the terminal building or terminal building parking lot. Another project that we did, and this is a relatively easy one. Every time we do a taxiway or a runway or ramp project where we have rotomill, we look for places to be able to place our rotomill. Rotomill becomes an easy area for vehicle parking or other types of development. So you can see your terminal building is to the left-hand side. That area that you see that's outlined in the yellow, and I think it's also red or orange, was a lot that we put rotomill down, and it became an overflow lot for the terminal building. But we also have a lot of events at the Good Warbird Hangar. So it allowed us to be able to have hard surface parking for people who are coming out to the Good Warbird Hangar. And then when we did our public safety building expansion, we were able to use some AIP funds, some discretionary funds, and we took half of that rotomill lot and we paved it. So the blue area right now is paved. The area that's in the orange or red is still rotomill. We put some posts and some chain around it, and we will be eventually using that for revenue control parking when we run out of parking in our paid lot. So it basically will become an overflow lot for paid parking. Going forward, while it's not being used for paid parking, it's used for other parking purposes. But that was an easy area to be able to develop using rotomill from a previous project. You can see on this one, you see rotomill placement to the left-hand side. That came from one of our recent projects. Again, it's easy for us to be able to take a lot, put rotomill in to give some hard service for some future development. You see the snow removal equipment and maintenance building. When we looked at where our maintenance and snow removal equipment building was going to be, we moved out of a World War II facility. We constructed it there. But we are also strategic in how we ran our utilities to that maintenance building, because the utilities going to the building also allowed us a vision to extend those utilities to other areas. So we have the snow removal equipment building in place. When we work with the BLM on the location of the seat and lap base, you can see where that development is. we're able to run the utilities that went along Allen Avenue. You see a utility corridor that ran along our parking lot out to the Seton Lab base. And then when the state was looking for a level 1, 2, and 3 study to put in a new state helibase, not only was the seat base and the lab base a good draw, but you can see the area where we show the state helibase. That was a logical place to be able to develop that. That's a $7.5 million development that's under design right now. It was easy to be able to locate it there because all the utilities were in place, and it's the adjacency to the Seton Lab base. What that allowed us to do is that future hangar development, now that we have all the infrastructure in place, that future hangar development basically was rough graded and all the utilities were extended to that. We just need to be able to extend that taxi lane where you see the hangar a little bit further, and that's available now for future hangar development. So basically at no cost to us, we got a shovel-ready site for future hangar development. And I'm working with somebody right now who's interested in leasing that lot out. The last thing I have is in looking at this, we're also working with the Forest Service on a future VLAT base. If we're able to get the VLAT base constructed where we want it to be, where I showed you that the yellow square with the hangar along the ramp would allow us to be able to put a hangar in there, shift where the VLATs are. So between the old runway 1230 pavement that you see, the closed section of the runway, we're looking at that future VLAT base. If we're able to do this, that old runway would get reconstructed in concrete. It would give us access from the existing taxi lane into the VLAT base. It would give us a second egress from the seat base and the lap base. And what that then would allow us to be able to do is all this other development we have in place gives us hangar development area that you see for T-hangar development. So I guess the point what I would say is key when you're looking at hangar development or you're looking at any type of development on the airport, if you can be strategic in how you develop things and how your utilities get extended to that development, where you can put your infrastructure in place, where you can put some rotomill, how you can establish some of your development, you can get a lot of areas ready for future development if you have a plan. As Devin said, you have a vision and you have a plan in place, you can take advantage of not only funding opportunities, but opportunities to get your infrastructure in place without actually having to be able to pay for your infrastructure for a project. And with that, Kyle, I'm going to, I think that's us. I think we're available to answer any questions that you have or anybody has.
Glenn, thank you so much for preparing and sharing such valuable information. Devin, thank you as well. And Aaron, we appreciate your coordination on this. We'll stay on the line for a few more minutes for our participants to ask questions. Please submit those via the Q&A. If you prefer to actually come on the front-facing side of the webinar, we can admit you and you can join our discussion as well. But we'll hang on the line and monitor the Q&A. And maybe in the meantime, I know Mr. Brubaker probably has a few announcements that he'd like to share with the membership.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. Please submit those questions or reach out to each of us individually as needed. But once again, Kyle, thank you to you and your committee, newly formed education committee this year that is taking the lead on this series, the Lunch and Learn series, as well as our scholarship programs and our professional development programs. So really appreciate your leadership there, Kyle. Just a couple important announcements for the coalition members while we wait for any questions to come in. Spring meetings. So if you recall, each year we like to, just pile into Cheyenne because there's not enough people there already for the legislative session. The week of February 10th, you'll be getting an email from me if you're on the mailing list. You'll be getting an email about the details, but starting on the 10th and going into the 12th, we will have various meetings, everything from an Aeronautics Commission meeting to a Wyoming Airports Coalition Board meeting, to receptions and breakfasts for legislators and other stakeholders. And then my goal is to have as many people as possible convene at the Capitol on the morning of the 12th for an aviation day at the Capitol. So I will be getting those details out to all of you in short order. Just stay tuned for that. Reminder, our annual conference is in Jackson this October. More information, we have hotel booking links that'll be coming out in the near future as well, and the conference planning committee with Kyle's assistance will be continuing to work. We've already been meeting, and we'll continue to work to put together a quality conference for you all. We have our new website that is coming live this week, as well as the opportunity to sign up for your membership on the new website platform. So be looking for an invite to that this week. We're excited to roll that out. Glenn, Michelle, Jordan, and I have been working on that for the last couple months and been able to get it to the point where it's about ready for launch, I'd say in the next 24 to 48 hours. So keep your eyes on that. If you do go to our website, you will see that we've already started the transition to the new website. Please know that that is a work in progress and that we're still working on some things. So don't go too hog wild on creating your membership just yet. Wait for an email from us. But the new website did start going live today, but it's not quite ready for prime time yet. So keep that in mind. One thing I want to kind of come back to when it has to do with our presentation today, and a shout out to our friends at YDOT and Wolper and others that are involved in our economic impact study for the state. We all kind of talked about creating a vision and creating the story of our airports and selling that to stakeholders. YDOT is providing each and every one of our airports an opportunity to help us tell our story by giving us free access for 2 years to 1200 Aero, which is a great ADS-B system. I just logged into the system and only 9 airports in the state have installed that and have it operational. So for those of you that have done so, great job. For those of you that are in progress of doing so, great job, keep going. And for those of you that haven't responded to the survey or done that, this data will help you sell your airport. This data will help tell your story. It'll help you tell the story about the medical flights coming in the middle of the night. It'll help you tell the story about key doctors that visit your airport to provide medical services in your community, or just-in-time cargo flights that come in to support your local industry. So I would encourage you, if you have not done so, please reach out to YDOT, respond to their surveys, help provide the data not only to YDOT to be successful, but for you and your individual community to be successful. So please take that opportunity if you haven't done so. Kyle, I'm not seeing any questions popping up. We might give it another last offer for questions here. Otherwise, I'll kick it back to you, Kyle, to close us out.
Thank you, Devin. And again, thanks to our panel today. The information was very valuable. To our membership, look for another Lunch and Learn opportunity next month. And we'll just keep this moving forward. And I hope that this provides value to you as you serve your individual communities, improve aviation across the state, and quite frankly, as we band together as a coalition. So I think with that, we can get off the line. And again, I want to say thank you to our panelists today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.